guys, thank you so much for tuning back into my channel. I'm so sorry for the long hiatus, but I have good reason and I promise to have good content. First, I have been growing out my undercut. I'm gonna insert a video when I talked about this, but I've been growing it out since basically around April, May, and it's been a little hard to style my hair because I really like to do updos, but then the up was looking a little funky, you know, when I had the so it was just like I really didn't have much styles to show, and like my routine really hasn't changed anyways, and so I was just trying to figure out ways to, like, you know, style my hair while still growing out the undercut and not be tempted to cut it off, because after a while I was like, I mean, I could cut it again, and you know. Okay, let me just not touch this. Let me just leave it where it is, okay? So yesterday I finally reattached the locks, and I filmed everything for you, so I'm gonna show you guys exactly how I did it. But before I get into the video, there's gonna be two of them. I think they're gonna be two of them because I reattached to my scalp from the undercut, and I also reattached to the end. So you can see I have a little bit of a length going on here. Yeah, I didn't grow overnight, but you know, I'm gonna tell you what I did. So basically, I used this crochet needle. This is the 0.6mm needle, and you're gonna see a little bit more in the video, but let me see if it focuses. Oh, there we go. Okay, you can see it has a little hook right there ish, and it's 0.6mm. This little thing, you know, I almost didn't buy it because I was like, this is so small, like how is it even gonna fit? Like, is it even gonna, I thought it was gonna break, you know, but it's pretty solid and it did not break, but it did poke all my fingers, and I have like so many scabs and stuff from using this to, like, you know, reattach the locks. But that was basically what I used the whole time. One thing to notice is you don't necessarily have to grow your hair to be too much in order to reattach locks or reattach lock extensions if you wanted to, okay? But I grew mine since April, so April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 8 whole months I grew it out, and it was so annoying because there was like nothing I could do with it. But I grew it out, and it was I think a good length, and I decided to braid mine first and then have a little bit of the hair left over, and then reattach that end of the hair that's on my scalp to the lock that I had cut off from that part, like basically a year and a half ago at this point. I hope all of this makes sense. If not, check out my lock extensions video. You're gonna see there's like 3 different hair colors in that video. The blonde one, which is the one I attached to the front, the red one, which is the original one from the back, and then there are 2 brown ones that I just forgot existed, but that's the original color before I started to like bleach my hair basically. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. So I decided that I'm gonna use the red hair instead of the blonde hair because it's a little longer. The red hair is a little longer, and so I don't want to put the blonde one in the back and then have it just like stay there like a bob or something. And I have more also of the red hair. So this red hair is basically the original hair I had. Well, it was like the first or second color after I first did my braid locks. So I'm going to use that one, and this came directly from the back as well, whereas those blonde ones, they're a little shorter, and I think they came from like the last row. And I'm not going to attach the last row. I'm only attaching kind of the upper part instead of this part here. I'm still going to leave this part cut. So I'm going to use the one that originally came from that area, so that when I let my hair down, it doesn't look awkward and it looks kind of like the same hair that was there before. And then I'm probably just going to end up bleaching this once I'm done with the new growth to match the blonde of my hair. So the first thing you want to do is you want to comb out the top of the lock. So you want to just comb out this top area a little bit. I'm just going to use a rat tail comb. So as you can see, it's combed out a little bit, and there's still no buildup because there wasn't, when I was even using products in my locks. So this is proof that you can use conditioner in locks and not have buildup. This hair is like, this hair is like a year and a half old at this point. So I'm gonna do this to the rest of the hair. I probably need to go a little bit more, but this is about to be like tiresome. Also, I was gonna say I debated putting conditioner on this before I started to pick it out, but then the thing is, you want the hair to lock, and conditioner makes the hair soft, so I opted not to use conditioner, but I might just like spritz them with a little bit of water and then just have the water dry, and so that the hair can be dry. And same with the hair that you're gonna attach it to. This and I washed the hair, I just put oil and I just braided it into 2 lines, and I didn't use any like leave-in conditioner because you want the hair to kind of have that friction so that when you're reattaching it like locks easier and it's not like too soft or smooth. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I just picked out 6. This 6? Yeah, I picked out 6 of the hair and now it looks like this. And it was a little easier with water, so I just sprayed water at like the tip of it and I just picked it out. And I feel like I need to pick it out a little more than this, but we're just gonna do a test with like 1 or 2 and see if that actually works before I continue picking out, because my fingers are kind of cramping at the moment. For those 8 that I picked out, this is the amount of hair that I lost, which is not that bad actually. Yeah. Okay, so for the combining process or attachment process, so I went to the store and I just bought 2. This is like the 2 smallest that they had, and it's 0.6. This one is 0.6 millimeters, and this one is 3 millimeters. So this one is bigger, obviously, as you can see here. I don't think I'll be using this one, but we'll see. But I think this is the one that I'll be using. This is the 0.6 millimeter one. And it's like so small, I don't even think you can see the hook, but I think this will help to kind of get in there and like really merge the 2 loose parts together. I tried this yesterday on some of the locks that I combined, like the ends that still had like 2 that would split out into 2 because the ends were loose. So I tried to kind of use this to go in and out, and it actually works and it doesn't take that much time. So I'm gonna try this to help to kind of merge the 2 if there's like loose hairs coming out. So yeah, let's go and try the first one. So one thing I wanted to point out is don't worry if the base of the lock is smaller than like the girth. That's kind of what's gonna happen. I mean, if you think about when you palm roll your hair or interlock your hair, the root obviously is gonna be smaller, but then it will swell because this new one that I braided obviously is not locked, right? So it's gonna be much tinier than the actual rest of the lock. And the second thing is you're gonna see like obviously that part here is skinny, the part that I braided that's only my hair and my hair. And then this part where there's the overlap, where I did the crochet needle, it's going to be a little thicker and then the regular lock, right? And so you're going to have the skinny part that you just braided, the part where you overlapped, and then the rest of the lock. So this part is going to be a little bigger. If you want to make it a little thinner, you can kind of space out how you overlap the lock, but I just put mine right on top of each other because I want to create like a really good base there. And if you want it to be a little skinnier, you can go back in with the crochet needle and keep crocheting. And the more you do that, like it'll compact the hair, right? So I'm gonna continue with the rest of my hair and I will come back with the results. And be careful with this crochet needle, guys, because like I literally poked inside my like cuticle, well, middle finger, but I like poked inside of my cuticle and it kind of hurt because the needle is like pretty tiny, but it's very efficient. I think each one probably took me like 30 seconds to do the crocheting. I think the longest part you're gonna have is combing out the lock, the top part of the lock. And I don't think you actually need to comb out more than this. I think this is actually like a good length to comb out. So I'm gonna continue doing this and comb out some more locks and reattach, and then I'm gonna come back and show you guys the finished results, okay? Okay, so I am gonna basically reattach. If you remember, on the front locks that I had, the front row, I had attached some of my undercut to the front row. So now I'm gonna take that and reattach it to the ends of the one that I attached in the previous video. I hope that makes sense. So at this point, I'm gonna use all the hair that I cut off from my undercut, and there's not gonna be any more like hair left, and that's it. So I'm just gonna have this little part shaved off, and everything else, this is the hair from before that was there, and then this shorter one is the hair from like the very back that was cut off. And yeah, and that was reattached to the front. And so you're gonna notice that on this top part there's like a little bit of the needle, the thread is still there. Okay, it's not gonna focus, but what I'm gonna do for all of them, because I cut it above where I had sewn the hair back on, so I'm just gonna cut this part off and just like comb that out just like I did in the previous video, and I'm gonna comb the ends of this part also out, and that should be very easy because this hair is only like 8 months locked, so it's not even locked. Like, I mean, it's locked, but like it's not like that locked at all. I can easily comb out this whole thing with no problem, as opposed to like the rest of this, which has been locked for like over 2 years, and there's no comb it out at this point. Like, this one's done. But the rest of these, like if I wanted to comb it out, I could, because it's really not that locked like that. Whereas this one is more locked, so I'm just gonna try and comb the top part, and hopefully it does come out. So that's the goal, is to reattach all these shorter ones to the ends of these, because obviously since this was undercut, it didn't have a chance to grow because it wasn't attached to my scalp. And so now it's kind of the same length as the rest of the back, but the back is a little longer. The one that's like, you know, here before is a little longer than this. So I just want to give this a little bit of length by adding this, and that way I don't have to deal with any more like locks that I'm keeping or anything. I can just know that it's finished, everything is back on my scalp, and we can continue the journey from there. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm gonna start attaching it to the lock, but first I'm gonna comb the ends of this a little bit out. As you can see, like I said, this wasn't really locked for that long, so it's very easy to comb out. If I wanted to comb out this whole thing, I could do it in like a couple of minutes. So I'm just gonna spray some water on this and comb this out a little bit so that I have that open hair. See how super easy it is to like comb it out. Yeah, because it's really not fully locked. I think it's like partially locked. So you can see like that's a lot, and that didn't take me that long to comb out. So, and that's kind of like a good bit. Whereas it took me honestly a really long time to comb even this little part out of this lock, because this has been locked for like quite a while, right? Compared to this one when I did the undercut, I think like 8 months in. So I'm just gonna wait for this to dry a little bit because I spritz it with water, because you want the hair to be dry before you put the other one on top of it and start crocheting in. So yeah, we're just gonna wait a little bit. Just gonna let that dry out. And because this is the end of the hair, I'm just gonna go a little higher, because you know the ends are obviously a little thinner than like the rest. I want to get to like that main like lock part that has a little bit of a thicker hair, so that when I attach it, it's not weird. The transition isn't weird. So what I do want to point out is for this one, these like blonde locks, I did find some lint in there. Let me see my face. So I don't really know where the lint came from, because it's like inside the lock. I didn't find product buildup, but right where, so like the thread was like basically right here, and then this is the part right underneath the thread. I'm thinking that it might have to do with the thread a little bit, because the lint was a little bit like brown purplish, and the thread I use is like a dark brown color. So I don't know if like that has something to do with it, or if I'm just like tripping, because the other locks that I've cut, like you guys have seen, like there's nothing inside them, and those ones obviously didn't have the thread of like attachment, right? So I don't know, maybe the thread just like married into the lock somehow and like deposited there. But yeah, and somewhere I cut like way far down the lock, like let's say the thread was here and I cut it like here, and I started combing out. I didn't find any like lint, but I didn't find any white like buildup or anything, which is what the color would be, because all of my conditioners are white. But I did find lint, and like a brownish purplish lint, which I think matches the thread. And you know, when I was doing this, when I was doing the combination of when I was doing the attachment with the thread, I was just sewing in, out, up, down, left, right, center. Okay, so I was just trying to make sure I had a secure hook and like it wasn't gonna go away. So I don't know, so just keep that in mind when you're following like, you know, my journey here, because I did find lint and I do use conditioners, but the lint wasn't white. But I don't know if conditioners lead to lint buildup or however. So just disclaimer, okay? Okay, so now that these two are both dry, I'm just going to place this on top of it here. Like I said before, you don't want to have too much hair like overlapping on this lock, because this lock is not going to be easy to go in and out of. This one is going to be a little easier to go in and out of, but this one isn't. So I'm just going to try and concentrate most of my locks like in that middle part right there. Let me just make sure what I'm doing is correct. So pulled against itself. Ooh, child. I'm struggling. Just gonna do that. Okay, so I'm just gonna take the crochet needle and go in and out, and hopefully this works. this is what we have so far. It looks a little funny because the color difference, but whatever. So I'm just gonna go in and like modify it a little bit and do a little bit more crocheting, but I can pull it and it's not gonna come apart. And so that's kind of how you do it with the crochet needle. Just hold it and, like, you know, twirl it as you're moving in and out, and it'll lock the whole thing together. Just make sure you have enough loose hairs to join the two together, and you should be fine. So this is the finished product. I've like palmed roll it like this so that it's a little smoother, and you can see basically this is what it looks like. This is the whole lock now, and it's been attached. So I'm just gonna go do this for the rest of it. Okay, so just want to check back in because I just did the second one, but I used a different method, and I think it actually came out a little better than the first one. So I'm gonna redo it for you guys on camera this time. So you remember the first one, I combed out the lock that was there, and then I put the two, and then I just did it, the crochet in and out. This one, I just kind of flipped the ends of this one like this and put the blonde one in the middle of it and then crocheted it together. And you can kind of see, I think the results are a little bit more, I think the results are a little bit more like cylindrical and symbiotic. And there isn't like a, I mean, there isn't like a poof here either, but I think this is faster because you don't have to comb out the lock that started before, right? So let me just try to recreate this real quick. Hopefully it doesn't fail me. And I can do this because, like I said, the ends are still loose, like they haven't locked, right? Like I couldn't try this with the other hair on the rest of my head. And I'm just gonna flip it upward like this. And I'm just gonna put that one kind of like in the center of that. Like so, and then just flip upwards like this. Kind of like that. Okay, so the blonde is there, and then this brown is looped on top, and then I'm gonna start crocheting. So I'm just gonna, okay, initial crocheting looks like this. Looks still messy, but it's now like kind of hanging on there. So I'm gonna just continue finessing that. This is kind of what it's looking like now. You see it's a little better. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more crochet. Okay, so this is what we're working with. So this is what we're working with, and now I'm just gonna like palm roll this whole thing. And you can see now it's like a perfect cylinder, and when you pull, nothing comes out. So the magic is in the palm rolling at the end of the day, because it's always going to look a little frumpy and messy. So you just have to use, you know, your palm to just kind of smooth the whole thing down. And honestly, as I'm feeling it, I can't even feel the demarcation of like where one starts and the other ends. So just make sure you do that a couple times to just like smoothing out everything, and your lock is good to go. So you can still see like all the braid from that one, because like I said, this is like 7 or 8 months old braid locks when I cut it, when I did the undercut. So that's what it's looking like. So you can kind of see, this is the very first one I did. Hold on. I mean, it's fine too, right? But you have to take the time to comb out this part, the ends of that part. Whereas this next two that I did, I just flipped it over, and this is what they look like. And it just, I mean, it just takes less time because you don't have to comb open that part. So this is what all 3 of them are looking like so far. And I have 16, so I'm just gonna continue and I'll come back when it's finished. Okay guys, so I finished the first row. Let me just take this out, put this back in. So these are what they look like. And I just used the same method. I didn't comb out any more of the locks. I just flipped the ends on each other and I just crocheted it all. Then I just palm roll it after it was done. And so that's what it looks like. It looks like an ombre effect, huh? So I'm gonna continue with the rest and then I'll show you guys once it's done. So this is the result of after bleaching it twice, right? And reattaching and all of that stuff. I feel like I should probably say a little bit more. Okay, so basically, what I'm about to show you in the back 2 rows, okay, are the undercut that I grew out, and I reattached and bleached and toned. So we have all 3, all 3 of that resulted in this, okay? This is the result of all of that good stuff, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and leave me comments down below if you've used this crochet needle, because this right here, I'm never throwing this away. Well, I don't have any more hair to attach anymore, but I'm still gonna keep it for like anything, because you know what, even if let's say you have like new locks and they're budding and the frizz is out of control and you're just like, I can't with the frizz, you can actually take this and go in and like pull in all the frizzy hair inside the lock. Because you know, sometimes when you want to control frizz, people tell you to like palm roll the hair like this to like smoothen out all of the frizzes, but that only is gonna last until you wash the hair. And once you wash the hair, it's gonna come out again. So if you're really like concerned about frizz, just get the crochet needle and then just go through the whole lock and just like pull in all of those loose hairs inside the lock, and then you can have like one smooth lock. And like, I think that will really help. And also for people, let's say your hair is not locking fast enough and you're like, oh, I have slippage and da-da-da. This is gonna save your life, because if you have some parts of your lock that are kind of like softer or like haven't locked or are loose, you can use this to go in and also do the same thing and like crochet it in, and it's like instant lock. And so yeah, and also the same thing, if you don't want to go through like all the phases of like stutter locks, baby locks, and all this other stuff, and you have like, you know, a full head of hair, you can start yourself locks with this. Honestly, just do your grid pattern, go through each, and then just do it. And honestly, you're gonna get locks, because you're gonna see in the video, like, it's so great because it like combines all your hair strands together. And so once it does that, like, I mean, that's what locks are, right? It's like everything combines, but this just does it really quickly instead of you having to go through all the motions. So yeah, that is all for the combination of the lock.